Welcome back to Health Hangouts with Amanda. And just for any of you who are joining us today for the first time, the reason we are running these daily videos is to spread strength, hope, and love to those of you who are not asking for help, who don't know how to ask for help, who don't know how to face what you're faced with or dealing with. And really, this is a way for us to communicate with you without you feeling obligated to reach out if you're not ready. And so today, our featured guest is Ycha Gil. Welcome, and thank you so much for volunteering your time to be here today. So Ycha and I have never met. We met this morning about 10 minutes ago, and that's wonderful. So Ycha is a seasoned therapist, and I was introduced to Ycha through Deanna Sullivan. So, and Deanna and I did an interview that I released maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days ago. And so welcome. I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself and say anything that you'd like. And then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Perfect. All right. Okay. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of have this conversation that I think is so timely, and the invitation to, bring about the meaning of the times that we are all going through. I think is challenging, at the same time is a great opportunity to look at ourselves and the world maybe from a different perspective. And yes, I have more than 30 years of experience. I work as a therapist, as a counselor, directly with students at DIU for 30 years. And so I am a registered clinical counselor with the BC Association of Clinical Counselors, of course, here in BC. And I have been in private practice for about a couple of years or so. I decided to retire at some point, but I thought, I think I have gained enough experience, and also I think the human experience and journey with other people is something that I cannot miss. So I decided, well, I think I need to kind of go again to the front lines and share this experience. And also you talk about hopes. And I think that I love that word. I think it's opening up, maybe, this invitation for some of the people that they are looking at or watching this video to, to approach maybe what is going on in a way that is more an invitation rather than I need help.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Yes, thank you for being here. I'm excited to speak to a counselor that has a lot more experience than myself, because I do believe that we can learn together, and I'm just excited for whatever connection may form today.
Yes.
And as we go through and near the end, I'll invite you to share your practice name, and then if anybody does want to reach out to you, then they can do that, or I can pass on correspondence to you if anybody has been touched by what you said today, and then that'll be a way to make more connection down the line.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So Ycha, I'm just wondering, let's start with just what this has been like for you as a human being. You have family, you have your own feelings, you had a job, and then you talked about retiring. And so just what has this transition from being out in the world to being in what we're calling lockdown or confinement, what has that been like for you just on your own?
I have to say, this is one of the most significant challenges that I have experienced in my life, really, where appears to be that the choices that we have available in order to connect, in order to go about our life and going shopping and doing all that is now being I would say not necessarily taken away, but severely restricted. So I am working from home. So I have another job, other than being a therapist, and I work with youth, First Nations youth, and so the connection, even connecting with people from the perspective of a therapist, doing it the way that you and I are doing it now, it is a huge challenge. And so this is also has extended to how do we reach, or how we connect, and how we maintain our relationships in the world, for example, with family. How, using this technology, which has been very helpful, but it speaks to me about also separation, right? It's about this kind of this disconnection, and which is also, it could be for some people that they're maybe experiencing some depression and anxiety, this isolating feeling that I'm not connected with something bigger or something personal, all that. It has been a huge challenge. But also, I would like to say that this is also has been a great invitation. And the invitation is about going inside, right? It's about reflecting. What does it mean, to be part of this situation, this that is worldwide, an invitation for us, it's at a personal level. And when we talk about we are all in this together, what that really means, right? What does it mean for me in my family? If we are all in this together, how I support my 17-year-old grandson, who is also being removed from his daily life and his friends and, his daily activities. So he sent me a little text yesterday, and that is, warms my heart. And I said, this is all worth it. He sent me a little text yesterday and said, they call me Meme, I am Meme for them. And he said, I want you to know that I'm thinking of you, and Meme, I really miss you. He's 17 years old. So this is a great opportunity for, when we talk about being on this together, that even that reaching out, just saying, I'm thinking of you. I know that this is hard. I'm sending you a hug, a virtual hug, or I love you. Even those, it has a different meaning now, because we don't have the opportunity to do this in person. So reaching out, I think we are doing it in a meaningful way, and I think we need to do that more often. So yes, big challenge. This is how we extend that virtual hugs to those that they are suffering. How I acknowledge, name, and recognize my own. Therefore, I can understand and be standing by another person. So these are all invitations that maybe before we never saw it so clearly, or so important or so vital as it is right now. So,
Ycha, when you say that, something comes up for me around, I heard this, I can't remember where I heard it, and so don't quote me, but this idea that we have to change our attitude about what's in front of us. So when people are, for example, complaining about how they have to go to work, I have to go to work again, and I don't like my job, and there's an invitation there where we can look at it in a way to say, I can go to work. I'm allowed to go to work. I get to go to work. I have a job, right? And now that puts that into perspective, because we can't go to work.
Right.
We can work at home, and then and so it's interesting that it's, some people before the pandemic, I would talk to random people, and they would say, like I have to go to work. I wish I could work at home. Wow. Yeah. Now they're working at home, and they're like, I wish I could go to work. Yes. And so it's just really interesting to me that I think it's very important that we look at our perspective of how we view what's in front of us. And I love that you're coming from an invitational stance of there is something here that we can see as beautiful.
Exactly.
It's an invitation to learn and grow through it,
Exactly.
even though it's painful. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, and also I would like to add to that, I think that this is the time when I talk about self-reflection, I'm talking about what am I reflecting about, right? And so when I talk about work, specifically about whatever I'm doing in the world, how do I identify with that? How that work that I do, either I do it at home or in the office or in the street or in the movie theater, whatever the job is.
Mm-hmm.
What is the meaning? What is the meaning for me? What matters to me? So this is the invitation to be confined at home or in situations. Is about asking ourselves that question.
Mm-hmm.
What matters to me? And so when I start saying, well, having some kind of security, maybe a roof on my, over my head, food to eat, a window that I can look outside and see what is going on, maybe an opportunity at night to maybe go for a walk or just to sit by the ocean. We in Nanaimo specifically and Vancouver Island, we are blessed every day with an opportunity to be grateful, to enjoy, to actually ask those meaningful questions. What matters to me? So this is I have learned to complain a little bit less about how uncomfortable all this, to actually say how I can extend myself, how I can look at maybe areas of who I am or aspect of who I am in a different way. Maybe I didn't know that I have this incredible opportunity for resilience, how I can practice that, how I can practice being more tolerant, how I can practice patience, how I can practice self-care and self-love. This is a great opportunity to do that. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yes. Oh, and it's so true. And so if we transition into, work with other humans, we say, oh, clients or caseload, but we're just human to human as therapists. This is kind of the way I see it. I just show up in my human self. And if it works for somebody, great. And if it doesn't, that's great too,
Yeah.
So in your 30 years of experience, what have you learned about the value of connection and working with humans? And I'm wondering then if we'll transition into talking about what the impact on the humans that you're working with now and how you're navigating that, certainly having to do the services online.
Good question. That's a very good question. The counselors and therapists talk about the importance of relationship, that it doesn't really matter, how skillful you are, which of course that is at the top of the list in terms of being, educated or trained to do certain things. But to me, the basic of any human interaction, either a therapist or the cashier or the banker or the accountant, doesn't matter who that person is actually the capacity to form and maintain and enrich relationships. To me, that is the basic of any connection with another human. The other piece of that is to meet them where they are. So in this time, I usually see my first question or my first invitation in counseling or in therapy will be how this is affecting you. What is going on with you? Is the interest to know the day-to-day thing. How's your mom doing? How your son is doing? What is going on with them? Let's bring your life experience into the counseling room or the therapy room. Let's bring all that. What is your support system? Identify it, like trying to name it. Sometimes people feel the isolation and this loneliness, especially now. let's find out and let's name what is your support system, who is also there that would be a partner in this journey. So that's how I think is so important, that to actually acknowledge my own challenges. If the only expert in a counseling session is the client or the person that I am with, and then I am journeying with that person. I am kind of doing this together, and whatever that is that we are doing together, because I don't have an agenda. I don't have an agenda, and I don't have a menu. I meet, whoever is there. I think just by making an appointment with a therapist, just to have a conversation over the phone or in the office or now, virtually, it takes an enormous amount of courage, enormous amount of bravery, right? People that sometimes they are even thinking about how I'm going to talk to a stranger about what is going on with me. Well, this is the time. This is the time. Maybe this time is about what if I, as part of my self-care, is to talk to somebody about what is going on with me, about maybe issues that are now bigger because I have the time to think about it. And think about therapy as a really important step, a really important, I will say, factor in terms of self-care. I see therapy and counseling as part of a self-care plan. I see this as a piece in terms of the wellness wheel, right? That includes, all these areas, is the emotional piece and the physical aspect of that, and the spiritual aspect, and in the intellectual part of that, how this wheel works together in terms of wellness. So to me, right now, I think that is the focus, is how I take care of me, all those areas. And maybe this is a great opportunity to talk to somebody about, well, maybe, in terms of taking care of my uncomfortable emotions or my uncomfortable feelings, I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to put them. I don't know what that means. Maybe this is a really good time to actually do that, to talk to somebody that is not, in the immediate family, but somebody that can sit with you and explore together what is the meaning of all those uncomfortable feelings. So yeah.
I agree. And I think in these times, we are sitting at home in our thoughts, and we are having to face things in our lives or emotions in our lives that we have distracted ourselves from, using outside things like work or running from appointment to appointment, or they all can be distractions. Now, that's not to suggest that we can't have distractions at home, because we certainly can. I'm aware that every single liquor store on every corner is open, and so yes, we can have distractions at home also. But the message here that I'm hearing, and that I completely agree with, is that these feelings, they don't go away. We try to shadow them, and they follow us, and they will follow us, and they will surface at the most inopportune times. And so it's a perfect time to face this. We have the time. We're sitting at home. We're having, we might be having or experiencing greater connection in our homes, but we also might be experiencing greater conflict in our homes. There's certainly greater challenges with, for those of you who have children, the children are at home, but there's so many layers of challenge in what's happening in the world right now. And so I agree, Ycha. I think it's a perfect time to connect, because we do have time now, right?
Exactly.
It's a gift.
Yes.
It's an invitation.
Yes. I have I did a retreat actually 2 weeks ago, and it was online, and a retreat with a great teacher who is a Buddhist monk that actually escaped from Tibet when he was about 17 years old or so, through the Himalayas until he got to India. And so I have this teacher for a while, but the whole purpose of this retreat was about, I think, there is some the invitation now that we need to look at is how we need to slow down, how we need to actually be in this moment at this time in our life. It doesn't matter if you are 10 years old or 25 or 65. It's about what my life looks like and feels like. What is my experience when I slow down? When actually, as you said, Amanda, when you have the time to actually be quiet, and or this is maybe a time that I'm going to reconnect with things that they were and they has been important to me or meaningful to me, and I never have the time to do. Maybe writing my journal about what it is that is going on with me. Maybe in the journal I can write about what are these uncomfortable feelings that I'm having right now. Maybe this is the time to look at my, little stack of books and then say, oh, I have this book for a year. And
that I've wanted to read forever,
yes,
that I have dust all over it.
Exactly. What about this fantastic recipe that I never have the time to cook or to bake or to, share with anybody? I have a wonderful person in my life as a therapist, and she said, you know what? I discovered, because I have the time, how much I love to cook. And I'm putting these recipes together, a little bit of here, something that I invented or I created, and a little bit of there. And I'm making my own recipes. I cook them, I do it, and then I share it. First of all, with my family, but then I'm putting it kind of an Instagram, and I have a really good, response from others. So this is what I'm talking about. I believe that we are infinite, capable to explore creativity in every way, in every plane of our lives. Maybe this is the time. How to be a little child again and be in the moment and playing with your 5-year-old, right? How if we make a fort in the living room with all, the sheets and things that I have in my closet. How it is to do a train, right, with all the chairs I have, around the dining room table, and then who is going to be the officer that is going to collect the tickets, and we are going someplace, and I'm sitting in the front of the chair, and maybe my 2-year-old behind me. How we use our amazing creativity when we have the opportunity right here, right now. Connect with that.
And it's like learning about who we are and what our truth is inside. Oftentimes I find when we're running around and we're distracting ourselves, we don't know who we are. I can't tell you the number of times I have said to another human, do you know yourself? Do you know what you like and what, and they say, no, I don't know who I am at all. I know that I work at this place. I know that I drive this kind of car. I know that I have a wife named whatever. I know these things, but there's things about my life. I don't know who I am. And so I'm hearing you say that it's extremely valuable to connect with self. And I completely agree, right? And I wonder, my next question, and we have about, I know you have an appointment to get to, so we have about 10 minutes left. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering what you believe is the value of a human getting to know themselves, of doing all these things to find what they're really interested in and love.
And I think the most exciting piece about that, thank you for that question, it's a great question. You know, sometimes we have the pressure, and I see that too, right? The pressure to know who we are, and the pressure to know who we are, where are we going, what is the meaning of being, 25 or 35 or 40 or 18? What is the meaning of that? Depends of, our stage of development. I will say that we get to know ourselves little by little. I think that there is no pressure. There is not this, time limit about, I need to know myself today or tomorrow or when I'm 25. I think even if we spend a lot of time discovering or getting to know what we are not, what is that we don't like, what it doesn't work in relationship for us, what it is that I prefer not to do or not to explore or not to study. I think that is also valuable to spend time in all those areas. I think we are infinite, resourceful, and the multidimensional part of the self that we no matter what, we are always progressing. I will say this is an invitation also to be kind, to be less strict and less judgmental on ourselves. This is the time to relax a little bit, all those restrictions that we put on ourselves, and actually amplify things. And the question is, who am I, right? Who am I in this world, and where I'm going, and it's okay not to know. I think at this point it's just the question in itself, is it is already the first step in the journey, right? It's about what are the right questions that I need to ask myself. And for that, I have the time. And first of all, I need to be gentle. I need to be compassionate that I may not know the answer. I may not know today. Maybe today what is more important or what is in front of me is I feel depressed and anxious and I don't know what to do. And that's okay too. It's validating no matter what the stage of the journey is and the stage of development. I think the connection with ourselves in a meaningful way will lead us, no matter what, to get to know ourselves better. So even if I don't know myself, maybe today I'm going to get to know myself better. I have a world, a universe that is actually evolving inside of me and manifesting in my life in so many different ways. So let's take care of ourselves today. Let's eat well. Let's, fill up our minds with thought that they're positive and they are hopeful. Just be kind of becoming friendlier, I will say, to this human that is also not know what is going to happen tomorrow. The not knowing, it causes a tremendous amount of anxiety. But maybe it's okay not to know. And what we don't know doesn't have to be bad.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it just, your words speak to my heart.
Thank
because
you.
in knowing ourselves, there's a couple of things I want to say and then we can wrap up here, but I feel like I could speak to you for a very long time. So I'm so grateful for you to be here and having this conversation. But I think that oftentimes what can happen is we think that we need to know, or we need some kind of certainty, or that we say, well, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to feel this way when this happens. And we we press upon our experience that it's going to be a certain way. And that's in essence, I think, a way for us to try to find security in not knowing. And so I love that you've said, maybe it's okay to not know.
Mm-hmm.
And in my own experience, and clinically and personally, I have found that the more that I've gotten to know myself and the more I watch people get to know themselves, the more freedom they have access to. So in sitting in the uncertainty, as we can just allow that to unfold, it's like a universal force that unfolds in front of us, and we witness it, and we work to accept it, and there's doors that open for us that we would have no idea would ever have opened. Right? And so I think that comes from being in a place of open-hearted witnessing acceptance of what is, rather than trying to run or hide or change it or guess what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And you know, one of the common themes in therapy is about self-love, right? And the most common theme also around self-love is about, I don't know what that is, and I hate myself. I don't like myself. I don't like this aspect of me. I don't like that. And you know, I think we spend so much time beating ourselves up and judging ourselves for what we think, what we feel, what we believe, our perceptions. Maybe this is an invitation to do it differently, And I want to, before I will wrap this up, I want to tell you a little story about, this is a real thing, about a little child that is playing with a grandmother. And then he said, I heard somebody talk about a spirit, about the spiritual, of being, and then he said, what is that? What does it mean? And the grandmother thought about it, how I'm going to answer this question. And then she said, have you ever felt in your heart, right here, kind of a warm feeling? Something that it makes you feel kind of, warm and happy and calm and curious about what it is. Yeah, he said, it was a he. He said, yeah, I feel that with my cat, and I feel that for my kind of rotten little brother. But sometimes when I see him sleeping, or I feel kind of, this feeling, this kind of warmth in my heart. So the grandmother said, that's the spirit. Who we are, what is about, not necessarily lives in our head. This may not be the place, but maybe go down, a little bit down, and find that warm place, which is an invitation to be friendly, to be kind, to be compassionate, to be human in this time of our lives. So that is the little story.
Oh, thank you. So as we wrap up here, Ycha, I'm just wondering if you can summarize the theme of this conversation, and as, because some people won't watch the whole video, they'll just they'll look at the end for the recommendations. What recommendations do you have for those who are watching, who are struggling, what they can do to support themselves to get through this?
Yeah, rather than recommendations, I will say maybe this is the time to take the opportunity to slow down, slow down, to explore what kindness and what self, being a friend to ourselves means. What does it mean to have a self-care plan that includes all those aspects, the spiritual piece, the emotional piece, the intellectual, but also the physical aspect of who we are? what about if we approach ourselves with curiosity? We approach ourselves with a sense of wonder, the capacities that we have as a human being, how we can connect with others, how we can maybe, I have been postponing a phone call or a text message to a friend that I haven't talked in 3 months. What about if I actually do that and just sent a little virtual hug and said, I'm thinking of you? How we connect with others in a way that is challenging. And what about if we considering that not knowing may not be a bad thing? Maybe that is an invitation to be here now and explore the possibility. Maybe this is a good time to make an appointment with a counselor or talk to somebody that has some, experience and qualifications to maybe understand this from a different perspective and have a conversation. How we include all this is in a well-being plan rather than there's something wrong with me and somebody's going to fix it, because I can't. I believe in resilience. I believe that this is a fantastic opportunity to explore and discover maybe that aspect of me that has been hidden for a while. And maybe that is the part of ourselves that is calling for us to pay attention to. And so, yeah, what about if we discover that we are way more than we think we are?
That hits home. It's home for sure. Ycha, what is your practice called and what is your website? Because we'll put it on our posting.
Yes, the best way that you can contact with me is through all the information that is in Psychology Today. You find Ycha Gil, there is all the information, what I do, what is the resources that I use, the methodology, the phone numbers, my email, everything is there. So, because if I said it to you, probably we are going to forget. But if you go into Psychology Today online and you look in the Nanaimo directory, Ycha Gil, you are going to find me. But
wonderful.
Before I go, I just want to say thank you so much, Amanda, for this opportunity. I think I'm connecting with you. I think when all this is over, I would like to have tea with you, and then we talk a little bit more about the stories that I didn't have the time to share with you. But
I would be honored. Absolutely. I believe that one of the greatest gifts that I'm going to walk away with from this pandemic is friendship, and being able to connect with people in this digital way that I've never met before, you being one of them. So I am grateful to Deanna for connecting us, and so happy for this interview. So I'll also say in closing, if anybody does want to connect with Ycha, and for whatever reason you can't find her, you can connect through us and I'll forward correspondence. And if you feel like what Ycha has said today has really resonated with you, then I would recommend connecting with her directly or through us. But we also have a team of counselors and we all work together, right? So people will mesh with different counselors, and so find someone who speaks to your soul. Find a connection that speaks to your soul, and then look into it. And just as Ycha said, have a conversation, because you never know what could come from it. Right? And that's such a beautiful invitation. So thank you for that. And thank you for today. I'll let you get to your appointment. And I would love to have a tea at some point when we're allowed to. All right, Ycha, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.